Hello, everyone, and welcome to You've Retired, Now What? I'm here to help you navigate through these waters of deciding what's the rest of my life going to look like? What's my next phase going to look like? What have I not done that I wanted to do? I'm your host, Michael Kiffmeyer, and each week on this podcast, I give you tips and tricks, processes, and methodologies that can help you through your thought process. So we got a whole lot to talk about. Let's dive in. I've always been told that when you make a presentation, one of the things you should do is be your true, authentic self. Well, as you can see, I have a couple bruises under my eyes. No, my wife didn't beat me. No, I wasn't in a bar fight. But what happened is I had some minor eye surgery, and I didn't want to miss. I always take pride in my appearance, but I'm not afraid to be my true, authentic self. So that's what you're seeing today. So this year, 4.1 billion people will retire, and which is an average of 11,000 Americans turning 65 until December. That's a lot of folks. Would you not agree? A report from the Eliason Lifetime Incomes call this the Peak 65 or the Silver Tsunami. And living life to its fullest after you're retired is something I want to encourage you all to do. Remember when you worked, you had dreams, you had ideas of how your retirement was going to go. Got a question for you. How's that working out? Is it working every which way you thought it would be? Um, Remember this, even in retirement, life is challenging. It's not sit it and forget it. You've heard me talk before, if this is the first time you've joined this podcast, you've heard me say before that this is not your parents or your grandparents' retirement. And what do I mean by that? Well, it used to be that you used to sit it and forget it. That once you retired, that was it. You didn't do anything else, and you kind of marked your time until it was your time to leave this earth. Well, if you're like me and you're a baby boomer, we've got other things to do. Do you know that, those of you listening, you've heard me say this before as well, that scientists and doctors have shown that if you retire today at 65, the chances are real good that you're going to live another 25 to 30 years. So why is that? We got better health care. We got better medicines now. We have found newfound freedom that, especially if you're over 65, you need a sense of purpose. You need something to do. It was easy when you worked because you had a set schedule, you knew what was expected of you, and you did that day by day. Well, guess what? Now the person responsible for setting that schedule is you. And you got to get used to it that your life's going to change. No one ever told us in this life it was a even keel. I don't think that exists. I think that life is like this. It goes up and down. It doesn't stop when you retire. The world's not concerned about your self-esteem. If you want to feel good, have a sense of purpose, and do more with your life, then it's up to you to start putting those wheels into place, or start putting together a plan so that you know what you're going to do each and every day. You don't have to worry about you got to have all this done in a certain amount of time. I understand you're anxious, but the fact of the matter is you got all kinds of time to devote attention to someone you probably haven't devoted a lot of attention to in the past, and that's yourself. And why didn't you do it in the past? You had a job, you had a family probably to raise, you had children to get off and perhaps get them a job or go to college. So those were your priorities. However, now you've got time, and there's no reason why you can't live life to its fullest each and every step of the way. If you want to change, you need to name what you want, why do you want to do it, and how are you going to go about it. You can't just dream because dreams are just dreams until you put it down in a plan or write it down in a piece of paper. Try different things. You might not hit the first, you might not hit your stride the first time, but that's okay. The only person you answering to right now is you, probably your significant other, and your family. If you find people rude and evasive right now, a lot of people at 65 plus and they retire, they feel like they're lonely, they're isolationists. Put yourself out there. What are you doing to put yourself out there to fill that void that you had when you worked? And that void is you had colleagues, you had people that you worked with, you had interactions. Humans are social beings, and we need to interact with individuals each and every day. And there's nothing about taking time for yourself. I encourage it, but to live your best life possible and to live life to the fullest, you need to have a sense of purpose. And you're going to be the one to decide what that sense of purpose is. People aren't being elusive. They're just doing something you're probably not doing right now. They got full-time jobs. They're going to work. They got those families to take care of. They've significant others, and they got bills. So that's why you don't see them as much as possible. I'm not suggesting that you don't see your friends anymore. You will, but just know it's going to change. And just accept the fact, this fact. When you retire, it's a major life transformation. So many people are still going with that old model. Well, that's not the model anymore. The cost of inflation does not let us just sit it and forget it. Many people think they've figured out all their money, but I'll guarantee you this: you sure didn't plan to live another 25 or 30 years after you retired. So what are you going to do about that now? You better think about it. I'd suggest that you possibly look at your financial planner again and ask he or she questions. What can I do now? Okay, here's what happened 5 years ago when we planned this retirement. What about now? You need to stay on top of your finances because there's nothing worse than you think you got everything figured out, you've budgeted well, and then all of a sudden something hits you like a medical expense, a house repair, and then we go into the uh-oh phase. Uh-oh, what am I going to do now? Well, I'll tell you what you got to do. You got to plan for it. You need to put at least 6 months of income away so that you can face these kind of challenges that are going to come about. Just because you retired, they don't go away. That's the funny thing about life. It's if you don't look out for you, no one else is going to. And that's why I encourage you to always remind yourself that I got to stay on top of this. You need to look at your budget, if not on a weekly basis, at least a monthly basis, because things change. I mean, look what just happened. Here in the United States, we just changed administrations, and there's going to be some changes. And things aren't going to stay the same. They never do they? Life is an ongoing challenge. So you need to make a difference. You need to quit feeling sorry for yourself. You need to get out there and do more, whatever that looks like in your world right now. You know what? Working in a retail store is not a bad way to make some income. If you want to be a freelancer, maybe you have all kinds of intellectual capital that you could share with the world. Do you know that's about a $1.8 billion a day industry right now, all around the world? People are getting online, they're learning online, and you know what? It is their preferred way they like to learn. If they are busy doing other things, like say you're involved in hobbies and whatever else, or maybe you've even taken another job, don't feel like you have to duplicate what you did in your career world. Well, and what I mean by that are your career that you had before. And what I mean by that is this: you don't have to go work 40 and 50 hours a week, but you could comb this, pare this back. and possibly work 25 hours a week if you're feeling bored. You possibly have some retirement, you have Social Security, you just need a little something, something so that you can get through from month to month. So don't feel that you're demeaning yourself by working less of a job now that you've retired than what you had before when you're in a career. If you fail while searching, don't worry about it. Okay. You might have to do this 2 or 3 times. You're always going to have to, and you might have to do it 4 or 5 times. You're always going to have to, whatever you get an interest in, you're always going to have to match your values with your interest. And if they don't align, guess what? You're not going to do it very long. You're going to jump out of that. Um, Before you retired, I'll guarantee you weren't as critical of yourself as you are now. And you've had something, I don't want to say jerked out from underneath you, but when you're used to getting a paycheck, say six, seven, $10,000 a month, and then all of a sudden it's not there, it's a real adjustment. Another thing I learned, we don't change our habits very quickly. If you spend $6,000 um, when you were working a month and now you don't have that, I found habits don't change very easily. For years, I taught major corporations and universities on how to change the thinking and the teaching their customers, their employees, their distributors, whoever they wanted their message out to. And one of the toughest things I've ever had to teach is change management. People don't like to change. They like to do things the way they always were. But guess what? There's no progress doing things uh, the same way all the time. And I think it was Albert Einstein who came up with a quote that um, when you try to do the same thing over and over again and you keep failing, that's not progress. Well, I'll tell you somebody that didn't adhere to that. Thomas Edison spent 10,000 experiments trying to be um, trying to perfect the light bulb. And when people ask him about, well, you failed 10,000 times, he said, I didn't fail 10,000 times. It took me 10,000 tries to get it right. And that's persistence, that's having a plan, and that's sticking to it. You don't have to do it on such a grandiose scheme as he did, but what I'm sharing with you, you can write down what you want to accomplish, put a timeline, not just every week, every day, what you're going to do to move that needle, this way so you can get to where you want to be. You always thought you wanted to leave a legacy. There's still time. You don't have to say, well, I did this and whatever. Um, I had an old high school football coach, and he back in the day, and I guess I'm dating myself a little bit. We used to have drugstores and counters that we'd go to and chat and get something to eat and whatever else. Then there were guys on the corner that my coach called the drugstore cowboys. And the drugstore cowboys would sit on that corner, smoke cigarettes, and say, I shoulda, I woulda, I coulda. Are you doing that now? Don't do that. Put a plan in place. And if you need some help, please reach out to me. I have some great idea. Hey guys, real quick, if you've been struggling to answer the question, now what, after you've retired, I'd like to invite each and every one of you to my free Now What challenge that can help you reignite your spark, give yourself a sense of direction. Try to decide exactly what it is you want to do in this next phase of your life. People are very smart and they get worn out. I know that. But eventually they know they got to do something more. And you need a purpose to get up and out of that bed each and every morning. I have tools, processes, and methodologies that I'm going to share with you in this challenge that I believe will help you clear your mind and decide exactly what you're going to do in this next phase of your life. When you worked, your vision might have been blurred between winners and losers. Don't be a loser, okay? And what's a loser? A loser is when one's not living up to their own expectations. It's not a loser in anybody else's eyes. It's a loser in your eyes. So that Ironically, life is not put in blocks of time. Kind of meshes together, doesn't it? It's just like when you're going around, you're going along, then all of a sudden you get hit with something. You go, my gosh, that's taken away from what I'm doing. You gotta learn how to deal with it. You got to do that in retirement as well. I will share this with you. Television is not real life. Do you know there's been studies that the average person past the age of 65 is spending 4 to 5 hours a day in front of television? That's only $35, 35 hours a week. That's like a full-time job. Why don't you cut that in half and then apply it to either a hobby or something you always wanted to pursue while you were working, but you didn't have the time? We watch way too much television, and I'll tell you, I'm guilty. Got to catch myself from time to time. So, what else do you want to do with your life? What did you always want to do that you've never done? And now you tell yourself, well, I'm too old, time's passed me by, etc., etc. That's a bunch of bull. Colonel Sanders of Kentucky Fried Chicken didn't get his recipe to hit until he was 65 years old. He tried 20 years to get his recipe accepted. Now look at it. He's got a global franchise. Grandma Moses was 85 before she started to paint and get her project sold on a regular basis. So you know, it's not too late to do whatever. There's a gentleman that started a company called Nivda, and he worked in Silicon Valley for close to 30 years. He went back to his native country of Taiwan, came up with a special chip for graphic acceleration. Guess who his number one customer is now? It's Apple, and he provides them with their chips all over the world. So if you have an idea and don't give up on it, follow it through. And if it doesn't work, try it again and again. You need to give yourself um, grace about this new opportunity you have in front of you. You need to be flexible. Everything's not going to fit in a box. And you need to be flexible and um, you need to adjust to it. This newfound freedom can be exhilarating and exciting, but I'm not as naive to know, or I'm not naive enough to not recognize people they get afraid. They get afraid of the unknown. And it's just like they don't like to do things different. They want to do them the same way. We don't get any progress when we try to do it that way. Okay. I like to call them FUDs, fears, uncertainties, and doubts. And I'm not dismissing them. I'm sure that you have them. But what I want you to do is kind of chip at them a little at a time. Okay. And you will find that you'll be amazed at how much progress you made. I'm a strong believer in lifelong learning. I've been an educator since I graduated from college, and it's taken different forms. First, I was a teacher in um, high schools and junior high school. Then I found out how to marry technology to education. Do you know I was 38 years old, 37 years old before I really used a computer seriously. The only time I used a computer was is when I did my resume, and then I learned how to marry technology to um, education. And it turned out I developed one of the first and the largest interactive learning centers in the nation. Um, Back then, that technology in the 90s was kind of prehistoric to where we are today. But look where it is today. Do you know the number one university in the world right now is the University of Phoenix, and it's all done online. And you know, the world needs your wisdom. If you have a message or if you have intellectual capital that you'd like to share with the world, you can do that. If you need some help, reach out to me. I can show you exactly how to do that as well. Uh, Some other things you might do that don't include work full time, you can volunteer. Um, People would love to have your time, your expertise, and you could volunteer in communities, projects. You might go join a book club. You might have a Bible study if you're male or female. You need to also remember that now that you're a little older, you need to keep cultivating your your health and your well-being. You got to eat right so you can avoid any kind of major illness. Nothing wipes people out past the age of 65 than getting huge medical bills and they don't have a way to pay for it. So you need to try to do everything you can to prevent that. You need to either take walks, do yoga, go to the gym, whatever stimulates you. Maybe it's bicycle riding. Maybe that's what you want to do. That's great, as long as you keep moving, because when you don't move, you're going to freeze up. And you've seen these folks, your age or close to it. Oh, I used to do this and I used to do that, and I'm feeling bad now. Well, quit feeling bad. One foot in front of the other, and you'll be amazed at how you can do how well you can do. You heard me talk before. You need to stay up on your financial planning and your security, because if you don't, um, you're going to get yourself in a world of hurt. Try to keep, as I said earlier, try to keep 6 months worth of income aside for emergencies. But here's the other thing I like to encourage you to do. It's your time now. Enjoy your leisure and your recreation. Now, I love going on vacation. My wife and I we've taken cruises, and they're very, very enjoyable and very relaxing. Difference between my wife and I is I'm a like a type A personality. I've been that way my entire life, and she's a little more laid back. But she's my yin to my yang, okay, and she keeps me mellowed out. You and your significant other, you need to talk about it and say what's important to us now. I can tell you what's important to me: relationships, family, friends, and experiences. That might be that might be what works for you as well. So as we start to close here, living life after retirement is about embracing freedom, uh, pursuing personal growth, maintaining health and well being, and just doing what you feel good about you. You need to have a reason to get up and out of that bed every day. So explore your interest in your passions, things that you wanted to do but you never quite had the time. I gave you a couple examples of people that age didn't matter to them. They just went on whatever. Um, you need to make meaningful connections. You lost a whole social network when you retired that you were active with. And these people aren't avoiding you. They got doing something real silly, like they're working full time and they don't have the time like you have. So, if you'd like to learn more about these subjects, in a few weeks here, I'm offering a free challenge. It's going to be called the Now What Challenge. It's going to be an hour a day, 5 days a week. Um, and we're going to do things like help you with your plan. What is your why? Why do you want to do it? How you think you're going to go about it? What can you do that you're not doing now? Um, I don't want any of you that are listening or watching this podcast, to have paralysis by analysis, meaning you think it, you rethink it, and you rethink it. And the people that are successful with their life, they take action. It might take you a while to get there, but I can show you some ways that you might want to do that. You can also reach out to me if this is something you might have an interest in. And my email address for right now is mfkify, the number one, at gmail.com. That's mfkiffy1 at gmail.com. This is Michael Kiffmeyer. I thank you very much for listening or watching on YouTube today. And my mission is to help those that have retired to find their identity, their purpose in this phase of your life. I appreciate you. Thank you very much. Talk to you soon. Hey, before we conclude this episode, I'd like each and every one of you to know that your thoughts, your dreams, and what you would like to get out of this podcast is valuable to me. My whole goal and my mission is to serve you like I have served others. For years, I had taught major corporations how to use learning as a competitive advantage. I want to do the same for you. So please leave your notes or reach out to me. And I want to gear this podcast towards your wants and needs and help you as much as I can. Again, this is Michael Kiffmeyer, and you've listened to You've Retired, Now What? I want to thank each and every one of you for listening.